Rumors are out of control regarding the fate of the 167-foot tall Hollywood Rip Ride Rocket. What does Universal have planned for their troubled attraction? Could they actually build a coaster within the same footprint like this one right here that would become the best coaster in Orlando? Yes, even better than Velocicoaster? So if you want to learn about this awesome looking coaster creation for Universal Studios and learn why I think you better get your last rides on this coaster sooner than later, then continue watching. My name is Brandon and I hope you're having a blessed day. In Hollywood, Rip Ride Rocket opened up in 2009, and while this coaster isn't the most popular in the park and I personally don't really care for it, I respect that a lot of people do and that a lot of people enjoy it. But this coaster is made by a manufacturer that isn't the best out there, and it's also coming up on 15 years of operation since the coaster first opened up in 2009. And I've said in past videos all the reasons why I can see Universal pulling the plug on this coaster definitely before 2030, but now it's interesting with all these new rumors coming out and spreading across the theme park community like wildfire. I honestly think it's much sooner than we all anticipated, and that's not a bad thing because it all, in the end of the video, you're going to hear why it all makes sense, in my opinion, for when the park does decide to remove it and when they open up the replacement. Now, the interesting thing about Rocket is that it kind of feels out of place, and it's a very low capacity coaster. The trains only hold 12 riders each, so that's never a good thing when Universal is trying to expand their parks. And with Epic Universe opening, you have all these parks that are getting more and more traffic and more people. The lines are getting longer for each attraction. You really need to focus on high capacity coasters. And even though Rocket can send out 4 or 5 trains at once, I mean, it's still, imagine having a coaster that holds 32 riders or 28 riders with 4 or 5 train operations. Now, a lot of you might be thinking, could Universal just simply replace the track on Rocket just like they did with the Hulk? We saw Universal do this with the Hulk back in 2016 when they replaced all the track for the original coaster, which happened to be right after the Hulk turned 15 years old. So Rocket is now 15 years old, and these coasters, you have to realize that these coasters run every single day throughout the year, and Rocket runs more than the Hulk does because Halloween Horror Nights takes place at studios and Rocket is one of the attractions that are open. So on those days, Rocket is running from anywhere from 8 in the morning or 9 in the morning all the way until 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. Mix that in with the Florida heat, and I just feel like this ride is not going to be worth replacing each individual track piece for the future. That is why I predict that Universal is definitely going to be removing the ride altogether, but that's a good thing in my opinion, and here is why. Universal will most likely build a new coaster to replace the Rocket, and they could have a ton of different ways they can theme this ride. Could it be themed to the Fast and Furious or the Minions? Those are the biggest rumors going around right now. I personally don't really care for either of those. I mean, maybe the Fast and Furious, but I think it's really odd to have a Fast and Furious attraction located on the other side of the park and then the coaster located in the front of the park. And if it is a Minions coaster, then obviously it's going to be more geared towards families, which I predict that Universal will be going big for this coaster. I do not think that they need another family ride. I mean, the Mummy's pretty good thrill rise, but it's also more of a family coaster in a lot of ways. And obviously, Escape from Gringotts is a family coaster. So with Universal removing their tallest coaster, I can definitely see them replacing it with another marquee major coaster. But here's my timeline for this. I predict that Universal will close Hollywood Rip Ride Rocket once Epic opens. I do not think they're going to announce the closure of this coaster until their new theme park opens. And the reason why is bad publicity. Once Epic opens, all the buzz will be on this brand new awesome looking theme park, and it would be very smart for Universal to then announce that they're removing the Rocket coaster to make way for something else in the future. And besides, since Studios is the weakest of the 3 parks, once Epic opens, Studios, I predict, will be very, very less busy than what it is now. So by removing the coaster then would be the opportune time to do so, and gearing up for what's coming next, they can start marketing the attraction as well as getting everyone hyped up, because I do not see, once Rocket gets removed and they build a new coaster, I predict that it could be done within about a year to a year and a half. So let's say Epic opens up in May of 2025. Shortly after, Universal announces that they're closing Rockit, and they take a few weeks to remove the ride completely, which wouldn't take that long. I mean, if anything, it could, I guess, because of the unique location that the ride is in. However, Universal completely built Transformers the ride where it's at in like 11-month time period. So that was like crazy fast. So Universal could really do anything they want at any timetable that they want. Remember, this is not Disney we're talking about where they take 4 or 5 years to build a ride. And I predict that this new coaster will not feature a heavily themed layout, which is not a bad thing in my opinion. And then in summer 2026, I predict that this coaster could be opening. Now, it might be a little after that. It could be summer 2027 or even the fall of 2026. But somewhere around that time period, I feel like is a good, safe bet if Rockit does close in May of 2025. So now the real big question is, will this be a Mock Rides coaster or an Intamin coaster? And currently, Universal's working with both Mock Rides for Starfall Racers and Intamin for the new Hollywood Drift coaster at Universal Studios Hollywood. So which coaster manufacturer will they pick? That right there, in my opinion, as of right now, is around 50-50. I can see it going either way. But for this coaster concept, this is a Mock Ride Typer coaster. I pulled the measurements of other Mock Ride Typer coasters out there, and something like this would definitely fit in with this area, as you can see right here. And the lift hill would stand at a height of 205 feet tall, making it the tallest coaster in all of Orlando. And the ride would feature over 4,500 feet of track, trains reaching speeds of 74 miles an hour, and the layout would include 3 inversions. But the main highlight here is that this drop, as you can see, is just like Hyperia's drop, where it twists 180 degrees. And then following that, you go into a giant Immelman element. Now the good news for Universal is no other attractions would need to get replaced or removed to make way for this. The only thing the park would have to do is remove around quarter of the parking spots in this parking lot here to make way for this element, as you can see right here. Also, if you're paying attention to the layout, you can see where the train would then follow the same footprint as Rockit and travel through the building, since it already has a cutout, paying homage to Rockit. Over the course of the layout that also features a mid-course brake run, you're going to encounter 13 airtime hills, 2 overbank turns with 4 train operations. The station, queue line, and entrance and exit would all stay put and basically just re-theme to whatever this new coaster is going to be themed to. Overall, a coaster like this would give Universal what they wanted to way back when, before Rockit was built. A hypercoaster that focuses on speed, airtime, as well as a few inversions. And a ride like this would really put Universal Studios Florida on the map, and there's a reason why Hollywood's getting the Drift coaster as well as Velocicoaster at Universal Studios. Universal has a great coaster philosophy when it comes to building these major coasters and incorporating an awesome theme around them. You're going to bring in people to the turnstiles to go ride it. So just imagine if Studios had a marquee coaster like this one. You have Velocicoaster as well as Hagrid's at Studios and Starfall Racers at Epic. People like you and I, as well as the GP, are going to want to visit all 3 parks to get to experience these awesome coasters that tell a story. And this video at the bottom of your screen is how I rank the top 10 attractions that you're going to find at Universal Orlando. Now warning, there are a few shockers on that top 10. With all that being said, what do you think about my coaster concept to replace Rip Ride Rockit, and what are your predictions for the fate of this coaster? As always, thank you so much for watching. Remember to smile today, think positive, and of course, keep riding coasters.